Queen Seraphine rose from her throne before dawn. Her palace, built of pale, iridescent stone, stood at the heart of Ithra Prime's capital city. High spires reached toward the lavender sky, and the air shimmered with gentle light emitted by floating orbs of bioluminescent crystal. Seraphine's long robes of silver and teal trailed behind her as she entered the grand hall. Every surface reflected delicate patterns of colored light, casting soft shadows that danced across the high arches. Though she wielded absolute authority over the Ethrian Empire, the queen felt a stirring of uncertainty that morning. Her advisors clamored for caution. The galaxy held many unknown dangers, and humans were ripe with unpredictable impulses. Yet something deep inside Seraphine urged her to see beyond history and fear. For centuries, the Ethrians had watched humanity from afar. They had heard tales of men and women who could face impossible odds, conquer hostile worlds, and adapt to any crisis. Some elders claimed Earth's people were brash and reckless. Others whispered that humans' fiery curiosity resembled the volatile storms enacted across Ithra Prime's polar deserts. None had ever invited a human to stand at the royal dais. But now, orders came from the Interstellar Council. Earth sought a treaty that would bind their fleets and resources with the Ethrian Empire. Seraphine could refuse, but her advisors warned her that other alien powers would gladly accept this alliance if she did not. To reject humanity meant losing ground to rivals. So the queen had summoned Captain Elena Reyes to her court. As first light filtered through arched windows, Elena's starship, the Sovereign Dawn, silently slipped into orbit. From the palace's lofty balcony, Seraphine watched the sleek, metallic vessel glinting against Ithra Prime's two suns. On board, Captain Reyes prepared to depart. She was human, tall and lean, with dark hair pulled back into a practical braid. Her uniform was simple, a charcoal gray jumpsuit adorned only by Earth's emblem of a blue and green circle. Despite her calm face, she felt a tremor of nervous energy in her chest. She had studied Ethrians for years but had only seen them in holovids or hearsay. Now she would meet their queen. If she could secure the treaty without offending Seraphine's pride, Earth and Ithra Prime might share peace and prosperity for centuries. Yet even as she descended to the landing pad, Elena wondered if her words would be enough. Within the palace, Seraphine stood before a crystal console. Her slender fingers tapped on a smooth hexagonal panel, sending gentle pulses of light across the floor. When the gates at the chamber's outer edge slid open, two guards in gleaming armor escorted Elena across the polished marble. Captain Reyes held her head high, though her heart pounded at each firm step. Seraphine regarded her form in silence, taller than most Ethrians whose height rarely exceeded 6 feet, and bearing skin darker than any Ethrian she had seen. For a moment, Seraphine's stern expression flickered. She wondered how it felt to belong to a species that prospered under harsher light and harsher climates. Perhaps humans had strength Ethrians could not fathom. The chamber's central dais rose just above floor level. Seraphine settled onto her throne of living crystal, vines entwined with polished metal, a symbol of Ethrian unity with nature. Elena bowed her head, voice steady but warm. Your Majesty, I bring greetings from Earth's Council of Ministers. We seek a treaty of mutual respect and cooperation. The Queen inclined her head, her jade eyes glinting in the soft light. Captain Reyes, you stand on sacred ground. My people have watched humans from faraway worlds. Many call you reckless, others say you are noble. Tell me, why should Ithra Prime join forces with Earth? The question hung between them, charged with meaning. Captain Reyes remained composed. Your Majesty, humans have survived by learning from other cultures. We know that true strength comes not from isolation but from shared knowledge. Earth wishes to trade technology and ideas with Ethrians so both our peoples can grow beyond our current horizons. We respect your traditions, and we do not intend to erase them. She paused, then added softly, Ithra Prime's crystal technology inspired many of our engineers. We believe your wisdom can help us overcome plagues and resource shortages at home. The Queen studied Elena's face, searching for any sign of dishonesty. Instead, she found sincerity. a glint in the human's dark eyes that reminded her of the Etherian sun's reflection on a still lake. Seraphine's curiosity deepened. She invited Elena to walk through the palace gardens, a sprawling expanse of floating walkways and pools that glowed with gentle blue light. As they strolled, Seraphine asked simple questions. On Earth, how do you decide who leads your people? How do you raise your children? Elena answered plainly, describing Earth's democratic processes, its struggles to balance freedom with order, and how families taught children empathy and resilience. She spoke of festivals, of art, and of stories passed down over generations. Seraphine had never heard a race explain itself with such pride and humility at once. With each word, the queen felt as if a veil lifted from her alpha instincts. Could it be possible that humans had wisdom beyond their raw passion? When they returned to the audience chamber, Seraphine felt a shift in her own heart. The first, stirrings of respect, maybe even something resembling fondness. She signaled for the guards to step back, granting Elena a rare place close to the throne. Captain Reyes, your words carry weight. I will consider this treaty. Yet before I do, I must know more of your people's spirit. If you agree, you will dine with the royal family tonight. Tell me then of your hopes and of your fears. Elena inclined her head, relief and gratitude shining across her face. I will be honored, Your Majesty. As Elena departed, escorted back to the waiting starship, Seraphine lingered on her dais. She watched the human's form fade into the morning haze. A whisper of possibility brushed through her mind. Perhaps this daring species might prove true, partners not mere pawns in the Emperor's grander schemes. To follow her instincts could cost her the esteem of her most loyal courtiers. But Seraphine, Queen of Etherians, felt a strange excitement she had never known. The galaxy held far more wonders than she had ever imagined, and at its center now lay a single human with simple compassion in her voice. That conviction alone made the Queen's heart beat faster, even as the suns climbed higher in the sky. Queen Seraphine awoke before dawn once more, her thoughts still partly on the human captain she had met the night before. The halls of the palace echoed with preparations for the treaty negotiations. Advisors hurried along marble corridors, carrying holopads and datapads to and fro. The grand meeting room was being readied, long tables of polished crystal, surrounded by chairs carved from living vines that glowed faintly with bioluminescence. Word spread quickly among the court that Captain Elena Reyes of Earth would be present to discuss terms of trade, technology exchange, and mutual defense. Many in Seraphine's council spoke in hushed tones. Some praised the idea of partnership, others found the very notion disturbing. By mid-morning, Elena arrived in the meeting chamber. Her uniform, once crisp and plain, now bore small decorations given by Queen Seraphine the day before, a brooch carved from Etherian crystal, shaped like a single glowing star. When Elena stepped into the chamber, heads turned. Etherian diplomats had never seen a human with such a gift, and talk rippled through the assembled delegates. Seraphine watched from her raised dais. Her robes of silver and teal caught the morning light, making her appear even more regal than usual. Captain Reyes, Seraphine began, her voice calm and measured. Today, we discuss how best to share our strengths. My people admire your species' adaptability, and you respect our crystal-based technology. Let us speak plainly so that both worlds may flourish. Elena bowed respectfully, then moved to stand before the council. Despite her nerves, she spoke with confidence and calm. Your Majesty, honored delegates, Elena said, Earth proposes a partnership where we send scientists and engineers to study Etherian crystal energy. In exchange, Etherians may visit Earth's research centers to learn about our medicine, agriculture, and computer systems. We also offer limited defense support. Earth fleet ships can guard Ethra Prime against pirates or hostile forces. In return, Ethria can share star charts that show hidden nebulae where Earth's mining companies might find rare minerals. Several Etherian diplomats leaned forward. One murmured, If humans can show us new mineral-rich systems, our industries would prosper. Another added, But can we trust humans not to overmine our space lanes? Elena nodded, meeting each speaker, with direct eye contact. I understand your concern. Earth's laws forbid exploitation of resources without agreement from local governments. We will sign binding accords that protect Ithra Prime's sovereignty. Chancellor Varusk, a tall Ithrian with stern features and hair like gleaming quartz, rose. His voice carried authority. Queen Seraphine, humans have deceived other worlds in the past. We must be certain their promises hold weight. Elena replied softly, Chancellor, if any human fails to honor these accords, Earth's Council will hold them accountable. I myself vow to see these pledges upheld. Varusk's eyes narrowed, but he said no more. During the afternoon, the negotiations stretched on. Delegates debated the finer points, percentage of technologic transfer, conditions for joint patrols, and protocols for cultural exchange. Every few hours, Seraphine observed Elena closely, noticing how the human captain listened intently, offered thoughtful replies, and occasionally smiled warmly at the younger diplomats. The Queen's advisors whispered among themselves that Seraphine's interest in Elena went beyond mere political calculation. When the formal meeting finally adjourned, a small group of courtiers and Seraphine's personal aides gathered around, the Queen in a side chamber. The air was tense. One aide, Lady Thesry, spoke carefully. Your Majesty, many view this alliance as risky. Even now, rumors swirl that humans plan to occupy Ithra Prime in secret. Should we celebrate this accord? Seraphine put a hand to her chin, her jade eyes thoughtful. Lady Thesry, rumors are born of change. Our empire has always feared what we did not understand. Yet I believe Captain Reyes speaks with sincerity. We owe ourselves the chance to explore new possibilities. Back in her private quarters, Seraphine prepared for the evening's banquet, where earth spices and Ithrian delicacies would mingle on the table. Elena arrived at dusk, wearing simple gray clothing embroidered with subtle teal threads, an homage to Ithrian style. The banquet hall was warm and lit by hanging orbs of soft lilac light. Long tables groaned with platters of glowing fruit, steamed crystal fish, and spiced vegetables. Musicians played gentle melodies on stringed instruments that produced sounds, like wind through tall grasses. Seated next to Seraphine, Elena offered polite conversation. Your Majesty, your cooks are talented. This meal is a feast for all senses. The Queen smiled. We cherish balance, what pleases the eye, the nose, and the taste buds. Eating together is a way to share culture. A hush fell when the royal chef presented a shimmering dessert of crystallized nectar coated in honey. Elena tasted it carefully and nodded, eyes bright. Amazing. On Earth, honey is a precious treat. Combined with Ithrian nectar, it creates something new. As other guests conversed, Seraphine and Elena slipped away to a quieter corridor lined with tall windows. Outside, the city's spires glowed under twin moons rising into the night sky. They walked, the terrace beneath their feet crafted from transparent crystal that revealed the softly undulating gardens below. Captain Reyes, Seraphine began, you speak openly with our diplomats, yet I sense you hold back some truths. Tell me, what scares you about partnering with the Ithrian Empire? Elena paused, reflecting on the question. My people remember times when we fought wars and spilled innocent blood. On Earth, trust can be fragile. I fear that if we misunderstand each other's motives, our peoples could suffer needless conflict. Seraphine nodded slowly. Ithrians too have known harsh wars, but we believe our crystal technology can bring peace, if used wisely. I want to learn from humans' experiences, how you overcame old hatreds and built alliances. She looked up at Elena, her expression earnest. I do not wish to rule alone in isolation. I desire to create a future where our children, yours and mine, will know only peace. Elena's heart fluttered at the Queen's words. Your Majesty, if our children can live free of fear, it will be worth any sacrifice. As a light breeze stirred, Seraphine closed a hand around Elena's, their fingertips barely touching. A spark of warmth passed between them. For a moment, neither spoke. Then the queen withdrew her hand gently. "Come, we should return. The night grows late, and our guests await." They walked back quietly, each lost in thought. Seraphine reflected on how Elena's presence had awakened a longing she did not fully understand. The queen had never entertained the notion of bonding with someone outside her species. Yet Elena's kindness, her fierce loyalty to her people, and her steady courage had stirred unfamiliar emotions in Seraphine. As they rejoined the banquet, whispers followed in their wake. Some courtiers saw admiration in the queen's eyes. Others saw something more. Later, when the banquet ended and the last guests filed out, Seraphine returned to her private sanctum. She lay on a cushioned divan, staring at the ceiling's intricate filigree. Bright memories of Elena's laughter during dinner danced in her mind. The queen realized that the treaty was only the beginning. There was a bond forming, one that could unite two very different species. Yet she also knew that not all in her court would accept such a bond. As sleep finally claimed her, Seraphine vowed to protect this fragile connection, even if it meant defying centuries of tradition. The fate of two worlds might rest on her choice. Weeks passed since the banquet where Queen Seraphine and Captain Elena Reyes had spoken alone under the twin moons. The air in Aethra Prime's palace had grown heavier, filled with silent glances and quiet murmurs. Though no one spoke loudly, everyone had noticed the change. The queen was meeting with Elena more often. They were seen walking through the gardens, talking late into the night, and even sharing private meals. Some thought it was a good sign. They believed that peace between Aetherians and humans was now possible. But others were not happy. Chancellor Verisk stood at the edge of the council chamber, his sharp eyes watching every move the queen made. He had served the empire for over 40 cycles. He had led troops in border wars, written laws, and helped build the trade systems that supported Aethra Prime, but now he saw something dangerous growing, something that could change everything. "Humans are clever," he told a group of senior advisors one evening. "They smile and offer peace, but they always want more. That human captain is gaining the queen's trust too quickly. This could be the beginning of our downfall." One advisor, Lady Zyril, frowned. "But Captain Reyes has not broken any law. She's been polite and honest." Verisk shook his head. "It doesn't matter. Influence is more dangerous than weapons. If the queen listens only to the human, the voice of her people will be lost." A plan began to take shape in Verisk's mind. He did not want to harm the queen, but he believed she was being blinded by emotion. If he could prove that Elena was not trustworthy, perhaps Seraphine would open her eyes. Late one night, a small explosion rocked the eastern tower of the palace. It was not strong enough to hurt anyone, but it damaged the Sovereign Dawn's communication system. The guards rushed to investigate. Within minutes, whispers spread that someone had tried to block Earth's messages. Pieces of human technology were found near the blast site, evidence that someone from Elena's ship had been there. Queen Seraphine called an emergency meeting. Elena was summoned and brought before the council. "I don't understand," Elena said, standing tall in the center of the round room. "None of my crew would ever attack your palace. We came in peace." Verisk stepped forward. "And yet, here is proof." He held up a small metal piece engraved with Earth's markings. "Found just outside the damaged tower. How do you explain this, Captain?" Elena looked shocked. "That was stolen from our engineering lab 2 days ago. We reported it, but no one believed it was important. Someone planted it there." Whispers filled the chamber. Seraphine looked at Elena, her eyes full of concern. "Captain Reyes, I trust you. But this is serious. If someone is trying to start a conflict, we must know the truth." "I ask only for a fair investigation," Elena replied. "Let your guards search my ship. Question my crew. We have nothing to hide." The queen agreed, but Verisk was not satisfied. He demanded a public tribunal to show the people that justice would be done. Seraphine hesitated but allowed it. She could feel the pressure from the nobles. If she protected Elena too quickly, they might turn against her. The tribunal took place in the Palace Hall of Light, where ancient trials had been held for centuries. Hundreds of citizens, nobles, and guards filled the chamber. Elena stood alone in the center, calm but tense. She answered every question with honesty. Her crew was examined, her ship searched from top to bottom. No other signs of guilt were found. Seraphine listened silently. Deep inside, she believed Elena. But the court needed more than belief. It needed proof. Then, to everyone's surprise, a young palace technician stepped forward. "I saw someone near the tower that night," the technician said. "It wasn't a human. It was Chancellor Verisk's assistant. I didn't say anything before because I was afraid." Gasps filled the hall. Verisk's face turned pale. Seraphine rose from her throne. "Bring the assistant," she ordered. Within minutes, the assistant was brought in. Under questioning, he admitted everything. Verisk had told him to plant the device and trigger the explosion. The goal was to make Elena look guilty and stop the treaty. The Queen stood tall, her voice steady. "Captain Elena Reyes is innocent. She came here in peace, and she has remained true. But there are those among us who let fear control their actions. This will not be allowed." Verisk was stripped of his title and taken away by guards. The hall remained silent. Then, slowly, applause began to rise, from both humans and Etherians. Elena looked at the Queen, who nodded with quiet pride. That evening, Seraphine and Elena stood on the balcony once more. "You didn't need to defend me," Elena said softly. "Yes, I did," Seraphine replied, "because I believe in what we're building together." Their bond had survived its first great test, but both knew that more challenges would come. Change was never easy. Still, in that moment, under the twin stars of Ithra Prime, their hearts were steady, and hope had never burned brighter. The days after the tribunal were peaceful, but the silence felt heavy. The truth had come out. Chancellor Verusk had tried to frame Captain Elena Reyes, but some in the Etherian court still whispered in corners. Many nobles accepted the Queen's decision. Others remained quiet, hiding their doubts behind polite smiles. Queen Seraphine noticed this. She had ruled for many years, and she knew that fear did not disappear overnight. But something inside her had changed. When Elena stood strong before the council, calm and honest despite the lies, Seraphine had felt something deep and clear. Trust. Not just the trust of a leader and her ally, but the trust of one soul recognizing another. One evening, as the two moons rose and painted the sky silver, Seraphine sent a private message to Elena. "Meet me in the Royal Arboretum. Come alone." Elena arrived quietly. The Royal Arboretum was like a dream. Trees with glowing leaves, flowers that changed color with the breeze, and soft paths made from smooth stone and crystal. In the center stood a clear pool reflecting the stars. Seraphine waited beside it, dressed not in her royal robes but in a simple gown of soft green and gold. "You look different," Elena said with a small smile. Seraphine returned the smile. "Tonight I am not the Queen, just Seraphine." They walked slowly along the garden paths side by side. No guards followed, no courtiers watched. Only the gentle sound of the breeze and the songs of floating night birds surrounded them. "Wanted to thank you," Seraphine said. "You faced lies and danger, yet you never turned your back on us." Elena nodded. "I came to make peace. That hasn't changed." They stopped near a tree with long glowing branches that hung like soft curtains. Seraphine sat on a smooth bench beneath it. "There's something I must tell you," she said quietly. Elena sat beside her, waiting. "When I was younger," Seraphine began, "I was taught that emotions are dangerous for rulers, that love is a weakness, that connections make you vulnerable. I followed those lessons for many years. I ruled with strength and order, but I was alone." She looked up at the stars. "Then you came, a human, a stranger. And I began to feel something different. I saw your courage, your patience, your kindness. And I wondered, what if the lesson was wrong? What if love is not weakness, but strength?" Elena was silent for a moment. Then she said softly, "I've never felt anything like this either. I've traveled across many systems. I've met leaders and warriors, scientists and scholars. But with you, it's different. It's real." Their eyes met. The silence between them was full, not empty. "I don't know what the future holds," Seraphine whispered. "Our worlds are different. Our people have much to learn. But if I let you walk away without saying this, I would regret it forever." She reached out and Elena gently took her hand. In the heart of the garden, under the twin moons, two leaders, one human, one Etherian, sat hand in hand, not as ruler and ambassador, but as two people who had found something rare and powerful. After a while, Seraphine stood. "There is a tradition among my people," she said. "The rite of union. It is not a wedding, not exactly. It is a bond, a promise to stand together, in trust and respect. It has never been done with someone from another species." Elena raised her eyebrows. "And you want to break tradition?" Seraphine smiled. "Some traditions must be broken, to build something new." Elena thought for a moment, then stepped forward. "Then let's build it together." The next evening in the Temple of the Ancients, the ceremony began. Only a few were invited, close friends and loyal allies. The air shimmered with golden light and soft music floated in the background. Seraphine wore a robe made of woven crystal thread. Elena wore a garment gifted by the palace, designed in a mix of earth and Etherian fashion. They stood before the flame of harmony, an eternal crystal fire that had burned for thousands of years. A priestess spoke. "This rite has been called. Two souls stand before the stars to promise trust, unity, and strength." Seraphine and Elena each placed one hand on the flame, their palms unburned by its glow. "I stand with you," Seraphine said, her voice steady. "Across stars, through time, in peace and in storm." "I stand with you," Elena echoed, her eyes bright. "Not as a guest, not as a stranger, but as your equal, your partner, your friend." The flame pulsed, casting soft waves of color around the room. The bond was sealed. Cheers rose softly, respectful and warm. Some nobles looked uncertain, but others clapped with real joy. Earth's ambassadors smiled, recognizing the moment's importance. Later, as the celebration continued, Seraphine and Elena stood on the balcony once more. Below them, the city lights sparkled like stars and ships moved slowly in peaceful flight. "We have taken a step that no one expected," Seraphine said. "But it was the right step," Elena replied. They stood in quiet peace, knowing that ahead lay new challenges. There would be doubters, even enemies, but for now they had each other. And the path they walked was one they would walk together, hand in hand, heart to heart. Months passed quietly on Ethra Prime. The crystal gardens bloomed in full color, and the palace shone brighter than ever. Trade between Earth and Ethria grew stronger each day. Human scientists worked with Etherian scholars to study crystal energy, and Etherian healers visited Earth to learn about advanced medicine. It seemed that peace was not just a dream, it was becoming real. But inside the palace, another miracle was taking place. Queen Seraphine was expecting her first child. The news spread quickly. At first there was silence. No one knew what to say. A child? Between a human and the queen? It had never happened before. Some nobles celebrated, saying it was a sign of unity. Others whispered behind closed doors. "What will the child be?" they asked. "Human, Etherian, something else?" The thought of a new kind of royal bloodline made some proud, and others afraid. Elena, now known as the royal consort, stayed close to Seraphine. She attended diplomatic meetings, read ancient scrolls about mixed species births, and helped improve safety around the palace. She wanted to be ready for the child and for whatever might come after. "I don't care what the child looks like," Elena told Seraphine one night. "As long as they're healthy and safe, nothing else matters." Seraphine smiled gently. "They will be a bridge between our people, a symbol of a new age. But peace is often tested when it is still young. A few weeks before the birth, strange, things began to happen. Palace guards reported seeing shadowy figures near the outer walls. Communications between Earth and Ithra were delayed or blocked without clear reason. Some supply ships turned back halfway to the planet, claiming they received false orders. A name returned again and again in secret messages: the Purity Circle. This hidden group made of extreme Ithrian loyalists believed the Empire should remain pure, only Ithrian forever. They had gone silent after the failed plot by Chancellor Varusk, but now, with the Queen carrying a child of human blood, they returned. One night, a coded message was discovered on a palace console. A crown tainted cannot rule. A child of 2, worlds must not rise. Seraphine received it in silence. She held her stomach where her unborn child grew strong and full of life. "I will protect them," she said, "no matter what." The night of the birth came under a sky lit by a rare celestial event. A comet streaked across the heavens, glowing with green and silver light. Ithrian traditions called it a star blessing, believed to bring great change. Inside the royal birthing chamber, Seraphine was surrounded by trusted healers. Elena stood nearby, holding her hand, her heart pounding with both fear and hope. After long hours, the child was born. A girl. She had smooth, pale skin like her mother, but a silver stripe of hair like her otherworldly ancestors. Her eyes were deep violet, brighter than any seen before. The room was silent for a moment. Then the baby cried, strong, clear, and loud. A sound that echoed through the palace like a new beginning. Seraphine wept softly, holding her daughter. Elena gently touched the child's tiny hand. "She's perfect," Elena whispered. "We shall name her Ayara," Seraphine said, which means hope between stars in the old tongue. The moment was beautiful, but it would not stay peaceful for long. Only hours after Ayara's birth, the palace alarms rang. The Purity Circle had launched an attack. A fleet of stolen ships entered Ithra Prime's orbit. On the ground, rebel forces disguised as workers moved to storm the palace gates. Their goal was simple: take the child, or end the royal line before it changed the empire forever. Guards rushed into position. Loyal citizens rose to defend their queen. Elena, though, tired and still full of emotion, stood beside the palace defenders. She had trained in Earth's military, and her skills returned quickly. Dressed in armor gifted by Seraphine, she led a group of fighters through the outer corridors, giving orders, protecting the healing chamber where Seraphine and Ayara rested. Explosions shook the eastern walls. Crystals cracked. The night sky turned orange from fire and battle, but the defenders did not break. In the heart of the palace, Seraphine stood tall with her newborn daughter in her arms. She refused to run. "Let them see I am not afraid," she said. "Let them see this child is not a weakness, but a promise." Elena rejoined her, breathless and bruised but unharmed. "The gates are secure for now. Reinforcements are on the way." Together they stood, human and Ithrian, side by side. New parents, leaders, protectors of a future no one had dared to dream before. As the battle faded with the rising sun, the rebels were defeated. Many were captured. The leaders of the Purity Circle were removed from hiding, their plans shattered by the strength of unity. In the days that followed, the people of Ithra Prime began to change. They came forward in crowds to see baby Ayara, the child of 2 worlds. Artists painted her portrait. Scholars wrote poems about her eyes. Young Ithrians and humans stood together in the streets, holding banners that read, "One future, one family." And though danger still lingered in far corners of space, Seraphine knew something had already begun. Her daughter had been born under fire, but she had survived. A symbol not just of love, but of courage. The sun rose over Ithra Prime, but the light did not bring peace. Smoke curled into the sky from broken towers. The sweet songs of the crystal birds were replaced by the steady beat of alarms. The Purity Circle had attacked the royal palace just hours after the birth of Princess Ayara. Though the rebels were pushed back for now. Everyone knew they would strike again. Inside the palace, Queen Seraphine stood at the window of her private chamber. She looked out over her wounded city. Soldiers marched below, and engineers worked quickly to repair broken walls. The queen's face was calm, but her eyes were filled with fire. She held Ayara gently in her arms. The child, wrapped in soft blue cloth, slept peacefully. Her small hand curled around Seraphine's finger. Elena entered the room, wearing light armor. She had just returned from inspecting the palace defenses. Her face showed signs of exhaustion, but her spirit remained strong. "They're preparing for a second wave," Elena said. "Some rebel ships are still in orbit. They're waiting for the right moment." Seraphine nodded. "Then we will not. Wait. We must act first." Elena stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You've just given birth. You need rest." Seraphine looked down at Ayara. "If we wait, they will come again, stronger and more prepared. They don't just want my throne. They want to erase what we've built. You, me, and this child. We are proof that peace is possible between two worlds, and that frightens them." She turned to Elena, her expression firm. "I will not hide while others fight for me. A true queen leads from the front." Elena hesitated. Then she nodded. "Then I will stand with you." By midday, the palace courtyard was alive with motion. Loyalist troops gathered in ranks. Etherian skyships hovered above the palace walls. At their center stood Seraphine, dressed in ceremonial battle armor, shimmering with crystal lines and ancient symbols of leadership. Beside her stood Elena, in earth-forged armor, polished and strong. Their daughter Ayara was kept safely inside a hidden chamber deep within the palace, guarded by trusted hands. Seraphine raised her voice to address the soldiers. "Brave defenders of Ethra Prime," she said. "You stand not just for a crown but for a future where humans and Etherians live as equals. The enemy we face today wants to divide us, but today we show them that we are one." The soldiers raised their weapons and cheered. The battle began just as the second sun crossed the sky. Rebel ships descended, firing at the outer walls. Explosions lit the sky. But this time the defenders were ready. Anti-air towers, rebuilt. Overnight, launched bursts of blue energy into the sky. One rebel ship exploded before it could land. On the ground, rebel fighters clashed with palace guards in the crystal courtyards. Sparks flew as blades and blasters struck. Seraphine led. From the front, her blade shining as it cut through enemy lines. She fought with grace and strength, her movement swift and precise. Elena fought nearby, using a long staff charged with energy. She moved like a wave, blocking, striking, and protecting her fellow fighters. Though they came from two different worlds, she and Seraphine moved like they had trained together all their lives. A group of rebels broke through to the inner gates. If they reached Ayara's chamber, everything would be lost. Elena saw the danger first. "I'll stop them," she shouted. Seraphine nodded. "Go!" Elena dashed through the palace halls, sliding downstairs and turning tight corners. When she reached the chamber, the guards were under attack. She leaped into the fight without hesitation. With swift strikes, she pushed the rebels back. One of them tried to grab Ayara's cradle, but Elena blocked him just in time. The rebel looked at her and sneered. "You think this child will unite us? She is a mistake." Elena stepped forward, eyes blazing. "She is the future." With one final strike, she defeated him. The chamber was safe. Back outside, Seraphine faced the rebel leader, a masked figure wielding a dark crystal blade. The two clashed at the top of the palace stairs, watched by both sides. The battle was long and fierce, but Seraphine's will was unbreakable. In the end, she struck the final blow, sending the rebel's blade clattering to the floor. The enemy forces began to retreat. The battle was over. The people of Ethra Prime cheered. The queen had won. Later that night, Seraphine and Elena stood together in the royal nursery. Ayara slept soundly, unaware of the battle that had raged around her. "She's safe," Elena said softly. "For now," Seraphine replied. "But the galaxy will watch us closely. Some will want to divide us. Others will try to follow our path. Elena touched her hand. We started something that cannot be undone. Seraphine smiled. Good, because I have no wish to undo it. They stood in silence side by side, watching their daughter breathe peacefully. The stars outside the window glowed gently, as if watching over them. Their bond had been tested by fire, but it had not broken. It had only grown stronger. The great hall of HFY Prime's palace was filled with light and sound. Delegates from all over the empire had gathered, along with representatives from Earth and other nearby worlds. This was the first time in many cycles that so many different peoples had come together under one roof, not to fight, but to talk. Queen, Seraphine stood at the center of the hall, her daughter Ayara beside her, now a strong young child with eyes bright like stars. Elena stood proudly at their side. The queen's silver robes shimmered as she raised her voice to address the crowd. Today, Seraphine began, we celebrate not only a treaty but a new beginning. The conquered of twin suns will unite our worlds in friendship, knowledge, and hope. Together we will face the challenges of the galaxy as one. Murmurs of approval rippled through the crowd. Earth's ambassadors smiled, while Etherians from distant planets nodded respectfully. HFY Prime's culture was changing, and the change was visible everywhere. Streets once divided by old fears now bustled with mixed groups of humans and Etherians. Marketplaces offered Earth fruits alongside Etherian crystal delicacies. Schools taught both Etherian traditions and Earth history. Young pilots from both worlds trained side by side, learning to fly ships through nebulae and asteroid fields. Princess Ayara, though still young, was already becoming a symbol of unity. Her presence reminded everyone that differences could bring strength, not division. After the ceremony, Seraphine met with her council in a quiet chamber. The advisors discussed new laws, ways to protect the Concord, and plans for exploration. Though many challenges remained, the Queen's confidence had never been higher. Elena watched the meeting with pride. You have done what no other ruler could. Bring together worlds, she said. Seraphine smiled. I did not do it alone. You and our daughter are part of this future. Together, we have shown that trust and love can build bridges where none seemed possible. Outside the palace, a new generation grew up in the spirit of unity. Children of human and Etherian parents played together in the crystal gardens. They learned 2 languages, 2 histories, and 2 ways of seeing the stars. Artists created paintings and music that blended Earth's rhythms with Etheria's shimmering tones. At the spaceport, fleets of mixed crews prepared ships for new missions, scientific journeys to unknown systems, peacekeeping patrols in troubled sectors, and diplomatic visits to worlds still unsure of the conquered. Seraphine often visited these missions, speaking to young explorers and scientists. She encouraged them to seek knowledge with open hearts. One evening, Seraphine, Elena, and Ayara stood on a balcony overlooking the glowing city. The twin suns were setting, one gold, one emerald, casting long shadows over the crystal spires. Ayara looked up at her mothers. Will I ever leave HFY Prime? She asked. Elena smiled softly. You can go wherever your heart takes you. Seraphine added, and wherever you go, you will carry the hopes of 2 worlds. You are the bridge, Ayara. The child's violet eyes sparkled with wonder. We will watch over you, Seraphine promised, and you will help guide the future. Though peace had come, Seraphine knew the galaxy was vast and full of unknown dangers. Some planets still resisted the Concord, others feared change. But the Queen was ready. She had learned that true power was not just in strength or ancient laws. It was in connection, understanding, and the courage to walk new paths. With Elena by her side and Ayara in her heart, Seraphine believed that no challenge was too great. The Etherian Empire and Earth had chosen to unite. Together, they would shine, brighter than any star. And so, beneath the light of the twin suns, a new era dawned, one of hope, unity, and endless possibility.